Please be seated. We have some late members. I'll wait till they get here. It's a whole crowd coming from the district office. Hi. Welcome to the May meeting for the full board of Community Manhattan Community District 7. And I wanted to first thank Goddard Riverside for once again making their space available to us so we can enjoy a meeting in not the close quarters we've had to on some occasions. I would welcome a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Tonight, 2 members have requested waivers and have been granted them. Eric Shaknovsky for unexpected travel and Will Ortiz for illness. I'd hope to give you information tonight on Community Board 7's new members. However, the record number of applicants this year has delayed the borough president's finalizing new appointments. We expect to hear this week later, and we'll obviously make that information available to members over time. We will be welcoming them with a social event soon, and Max will report further on those plans. Whenever those appointments are notified of their community board membership, we will have a vacancy in the position of co-secretary, as Murat Akaden chose not to reapply for personal reasons, and that his replacement will be named, which terminates his membership later this week. Our bylaws state that if an officer position becomes vacant, nominations to fill the remaining time of the term shall be taken by the last constituted election committee at the next regularly scheduled full board meeting. Therefore, I'm requesting that the election committee plan on calling for nominations for co-secretary at our June full board meeting. Many of our committees are addressing the local impacts of the unprecedented policies emerging from the federal government, as well as the recent city and state budget legislative results. So there's a lot going on that impacts us and impacts our community. I would therefore like to plan now on a second full board meeting in June to take place, the place of the steering committee meeting that month. That way, before we break for the summer, we can vote on June resolutions passed by committees, as well as vote to fill the vacant co-secretary position. I'd like to turn to Max with our one microphone for his district manager report.
Thanks. Yes, we're down to just one mic, unfortunately. All right, so fairly brief, starting with a reminder that the Transportation Committee for May is going to be rescheduled from the 13th to the 20th. I think the co-chairs have already let everyone know, but I know it's of importance to a lot of you, so flagging it for everyone else. Next, as Beverly said, there is going to be a potluck happening for new members and the existing membership as well. And Roberta and Madge are working on that. We should have a date in a couple days once the rest of the board members once the new board members are appointed, and then we'll let everyone know. That's going to be at the CB7 office. And then finally, I know a lot of you have been asking, obviously no board members appointed yet, but I believe they're coming on either Wednesday or Thursday, I think. And we're just asking that you wait to get in contact with all the new board members until the office staff has met with them, and then the executive committee has met with them, so we can kind of get them organized and acclimated, onboarded a little bit, and then have at it, because I know many of you are eager to reach out to them. So that concludes my report. I think we're going to go to the public. Should we go with Sue Peters for? Oh no, there's questions. Go ahead.
Thursday. Before we go to the public session, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month? Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thanks. With that, I'll turn it over to Max for calling on members of the public.
Let's go to Sue Peters first. I know how excited you are.
Glad to be back. Hi. What? Great. I'm Sue Peters. I'm a member of New Yorkers for Wire Tech, and I'm also a consulting party to the National Historic Preservation Act for 5G cell towers in MCB7. I'm going to give you some testimony I gave on the 29th of April of this year before the Committee of Technology of the City Council. I am negatively replying to these bills expanding wireless and not wired communication. Our federal regulator, the FCC, acts outside the rule of law. In August 2021, the FCC was told by a federal court to return to court after looking at 11,000 pages of scientific research and testimonies. These 11,000 pages showed biological effects from electromagnetic energy below the FCC's guidelines of 1996 and never changed since then. The FCC has disregarded the court for 4 years and refused to do that. This is a flagrant disregard of the rule of law. Every day, more and more evidence is published validating the damage done by wireless radiation at energy levels below the FCC's guidelines. Here is one such study published last month, the effects of radio frequency radiation. Based on an analysis of 90 scientific articles, it highlights the risk of young men keeping cell phones in their trouser pockets for hours a day. The risks include damage to their fertility, damage to their sperm cells, the cell oxidation, damaging sperm DNA, inflammatory processes, decreased sperm motility. One last sentence. Don't put your cell phones in your pockets anymore and wire your devices at home. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Let's go to Lauren Klaus. Oh, there you are. Sorry. Are we giving 1 or 2 minutes? 2? Okay, 2 minutes. Sure. Oh, no worries. Here you go.
Hi, good evening, board members and Upper West Side residents. I'm here to talk to you today about my small Chihuahua mix, Penny. She was walking along the sidewalk Saturday evening, attempting to pass by 2 large dogs standing on the sidewalk. Without warning, the large male dog turned and lunged at my dog. Both dogs got a hold of her, and one of the attacking dog's owners dropped the leash entirely. In multiple angles of multiple videos, you can see the man holding the male attacked dog will guide his dog back and giving another chance to lunge at my dog. If the owners weren't actively encouraging their dogs and they were just doing nothing to stop them. The man owning the attack dog turns to my ex-boyfriend who was fending off the attack and told him that there was nothing you can do. We brought Penny to the hospital and she was into surgery to repair the multiple puncture wounds, scrapes, and lacerations. And if it weren't for all the good Samaritans that stepped in and helped, we believe that Penny would have died. It was only later that we learned that these exact same dogs had mauled and killed another dog in Central Park. The woman whose dog was killed filed the dangerous dog report, so why are these dogs still in the streets? How long until they kill a child instead? The Upper West Side is supposed to be a very safe neighborhood, but right now it doesn't feel that way with these owners and dogs walking around. There are no laws, and the NYPD that the NYPD can use to immediately take action. And frankly, we've been given the runaround by animal control, who said I called the wrong place, the ASPCA, who said the NYPD can handle this sort of thing, and the NYPD Animal Cruelty Division, who told me that they looked at the video and saw that no crime was being committed here. I would like to take I would like the city to take 3 actions as soon as humanly possible. Number 1, get these dogs away from these owners and off the streets. I would prefer that they were sent to a dangerous dog place, but the number 1 priority is that they no longer are walking around here. I want these owners held accountable for being unable and or unwilling to control their dogs. There needs to be a criminal response, not just a civil one. I want to make it so these people could never own dogs and breed them again. That's the third thing. We believe that it is very obvious on the video that these people are training their dogs to fight using bait dogs, and if the city takes away these 2 dogs, they will just get others. They should never be allowed to have another dog or really any animal in their care ever again. I'm hoping the city can consider this matter. I know that Councilwoman Gerber is doing a lot for this cause, and that we have a town hall meeting here tomorrow, but I felt it important to get the word out to everyone in every form possible that we need to see justice done here. These owners have gotten away with far too much for far too long, and it's time that they see the inside of a jail cell. Thank you.
They identified the owner, know who they are?
Yes, the owner's name is Joe Columbus. Yeah. He lives, I don't know that I necessarily should say where he lives, honestly, but yeah, but he lives in the neighborhood and close to where the attack happened. At the corner of 85th and Columbus.
Can we not? I don't think we should have questions.
I also want to let you know that Gail Brewer was on NPR tonight. I caught her just before I left for this meeting, and she spoke at something. I don't know if you heard her, but
I wasn't able.
she spoke really forcefully. She's really, really angry about this issue. Me too. She wants, of course, she wants legislation.
Actually, that's a good segue, Barbara. So we're not taking any other questions on this, Beverly says, but Gail is holding a town hall on this tomorrow, I think here at 4 o'clock. Does anyone know? I just found out about this. So tomorrow, 4 o'clock here, Gail will be holding a town hall on this. Next, let's go to R.D. Smith. If not, let's go to Bev Thompson. No Bev. Okay. We can move to the next segment then. Eleni, would you like to go next? That last speaker was Lauren. Yeah.
Ready? Cool. Very sorry to hear what happened to your dog. So good evening, Community Board 7. My name is Eleni DeServo. I'm with Lincoln Center. And so I want to just give you all a few updates of what's happening on the campus. So a few highlights from the past month. We recently announced our 4th Summer for the City cross-campus festival featuring hundreds of performances. Opening night is on June 11th and closing night is on August 9th. So we hope to see you there for some free performances. We're thrilled to share that Lincoln Center won the People's Voice Webby Award for our Sidewalk Studio video featuring Deaf Broadway's performance of Seasons of Love. And then we're continuing our work with NYCHA, Amsterdam Houses, Goddard Riverside, Positive Influence. With the teaching artist workshops, we hosted some young people from Hudson Guild over for Los Trompos, as well as some of the daycares locally. And we partnered with the NYCHA Tenant Association leaders at Houses in addition for an Easter Jam this year. Upcoming events, so for those that have been participating in the West Participate process, we are hosting an open house on May 22nd in the Kaplan at Lincoln Center from 4 to 8. We'll just be giving an update on our progress to date. And then we're hosting a Next Gen Changemakers Summit on July 29th. So if you know young people that are civically engaged, civic minded, want to come to an all-day workshop, we'd love to have them. It's free. We're also partnering with DYCD on that. Those are my updates.
Thanks. Let's go to Jennifer Czar. Yeah.
So Lincoln Center will be presenting at our Parks and Environment Committee meeting this month on the 19th about the Damrush Park project. So anybody who's interested is welcome.
Thanks. Jennifer Czar. She's not, is she online? No, okay. Want to go to Ben Amster then? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Great. Okay, so first just wanted to go through some of the events the Assembly member is hosting for the next month. Next Friday, May 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be having a legal clinic in our district office from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's in partnership with Mobilization for Justice. You can call or email to RSV for that. Also, May 16th, that Friday, beginning at 10 a.m., we're doing a compost bin giveaway in our office. So that's first come, first served until supplies last. DSNY supplied our office with 50 compost bins to give away. Later in May, where the Assembly member will be hosting a webinar on cuts to the Social Security Administration and Social Security benefits. And we'll have more details on that to come. A little later in June, June 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a Sunday. We will be having a shred day in front of our district office. Then also wanted to provide some legislative updates. The major update from the last week is that the Assembly member and her colleagues were able to secure $50 million in the budget for HAVP, the Housing Access Voucher. So that comes amid proposed cuts of more than $2 billion at the federal level. So that will be crucial to building out statewide housing infrastructure. Also wanted to briefly comment regarding the attack on Sunday, the dog attack incident. The Assembly member had been remains in contact with the NYPD and DA. She was obviously very disturbed by that incident. She has drafted and sent a letter to the NYPD asking them to clarify their policy about taking reports and pressing charges in these situations. And she does have a bill reclassing pets from property to prevent confusion in the future on how and when charges should be pressed in these cases. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Jerry Nadler's office. So as Beverly mentioned, the House Republicans are advancing their dangerous reconciliation bill that will gut Medicaid, SNAP, and other essential programs, all for a large tax cut for the wealthy. So Congressman Nadler will not let these harmful cuts go unchallenged. He's doing everything he can to fight back against the reconciliation bill and the cuts that are affiliated with it, and to protect millions of Americans from experiencing the devastating consequences of this budget. He's also continuing to stand back against the Trump administration's attempt to threaten American rights, the federal workforce, and vital programs like Social Security, Medicare, and the rule of law. So we're going to continue speaking up, and we're going to continue fighting back. Congressman Nadler, alongside Congressman Menendez and Congressman Miliatakis, introduced the Improving Helicopter Safety Act, and I have been coming to this board for long enough that I have mentioned 2 other times when we have introduced this bill, but we continue to introduce this bill that would ban all non-essential helicopter traffic within a 20-mile radius of the Statue of Liberty. The bill follows last month's tragic helicopter crash on the Hudson River and seeks to prevent similar avoidable accidents by addressing this dangerous flight pattern in the region. Sorry. Last month, that was me. Last month, Congressman Nadler led a letter by the New York congressional delegation urging Governor Hochul to support the Housing Access Voucher Program and include additional funding in the New York State upcoming budget. Following this letter, we were grateful to see Governor Hochul announce a $50 million rental aid program, which will help provide much needed financial relief during this affordability crisis. Quick reminder, excuse me. Our office is partnering with Goddard Riverside to host a mobile constituent services here. That is June 11th from 3 to 6 p.m. I will send the information to Max, but we want to invite everyone to meet our caseworkers, ask any of your questions. The community relations team will also be here, so you can feel free to ask us questions. And the last thing is that tomorrow, the Real ID ID law goes into effect. Now, the Department of Homeland Security just announced that you can still technically fly without a real ID. You'll just be in additional scrutiny and security. So I would encourage you to get your real ID. You have to do it in person at the DMV. But if you have any questions or what other federal IDs are accepted to fly domestically, please give us a call. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah. Swaiba.
Hi, everyone. This is Sawaiba from Manhattan Borough President's Office. Hope you're all okay. So thanks again to everyone who reapplied or applied for the first time to serve on the board. Decisions are expected to be released this week, definitely Thursday. If not, early next week. So please bear with us. So that's why I'm here. As we've mentioned, we received over 950 applications this year. And our community affairs unit has been hard at work evaluating all of them. Additionally, I believe folks are all aware, but information about maximum term limits is available on our website for all members. If you need help with that, you can definitely reach out to me, but it's on our website under community boards. You go there, choose your board, and you will see it to the far right, choosing, on the Airtable that we've uploaded. For events, we have the AAPI event. Manhattan Borough President, in conjunction with Assemblymember Grace Lee, are thrilled to invite you and your friends at CPC to a joint celebration in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. At the event, they will honor the exceptional work of remarkable individuals and groups within the community who have made significant strides. This is taking place at 60 Center Street on May 8th, this Thursday. You can RSVP. If you don't have the link, just let me know. I will share it. Also, I left cards at the back, so you can reach out to me easily. And the borough president participated at a rally this past week, urging Albany to pass the Stop Super Speeders bill. For those who aren't aware, nearly 90 pedestrians were killed last year due to reckless driving. Additionally, just 1.5% of drivers caused 21% of pedestrian deaths. The BP is calling for the passage of this legislation that would mandate speed limiter technology for the most dangerous drivers on our streets. Lastly, Harlem Mir. The borough president was thrilled to participate in the opening of the new Davis Center at the Harlem Mir on the northern end of Central Park. Lastly, we're also having a NYCHA brunch taking place on May 16th. And our focus this year is strengthening communication and partnerships. Thank you so much, everyone. And of course, reach out to me anytime.
Let's go to Ben Lowenstein online next.
Hi, everybody. So as you all know, the budget has been finished in Albany, and Assemblymember Simone voting is starting on that soon. I just wanted to run through some of the Assembly members' priorities that you fought for in the budget this year. That includes free school breakfast and lunch for all school students, a $2.5 million increase in aid to libraries, income tax cuts for low and middle income earners, the governor's funding of rebate checks of $300 to $500 from the larger than expected collection of sales tax, an income tax credit of up to $750 for eligible renters with incomes under $200,000. Significant new investments in the Environmental Protection Fund of $500 million and $600 million to the clean water infrastructure. His focus this year has been on mental health, and he was pushing for funding to hire nurses, for outreach workers. These are people who are on the ground every single day, engaging with people on the street with homelessness. And the Assembly member has been speaking with them the past year and finding the most important thing that they need right now, in addition to, increases to their wages and a COLA, is for nurses to join them with this outreach work. A lot of people on the street are in dire need of medical attention and are not getting that themselves. And having nurses come with them is one of the most important things that we can do. Real quick, I just wanted to mention We did have a town hall scheduled, but it was postponed. I'll have a new date for that soon. But upcoming May 22nd, it's a little bit out of the CB7 district, but we are hosting a mammogram ban. So it's May 22nd from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It will be at Fulton Houses at 421 West 17th Street. And this is open to New York City residents age 40 to 75 who have not had a mammogram in the past 12 months. So please reach out to our office for that. Thanks so much.
Thanks. We're going to Gwen next.
Hi, everyone. Happy May and happy early Mother's Day to everybody. This is Gwen Saffron from Public Advocate Jimani Williams' office, and I'll jump right in with some of our legislative updates. Recently, our office released a new report called Silenced Crisis, Black Maternal Mortality and the Birthing Center Solution, and efforts New York can take to better support maternal health. Our report spotlights the need for expanding birthing centers throughout the city, providing hospital staff with training on out-of-hospital births, eliminating the certificate of need process for midwife-led birth centers, and other recommendations. You can read the full report on our website at advocate.nyc.gov/reports. Secondly, with the mayor ignoring tools already available to help New Yorkers facing mental health crises, the Public Advocate is calling for New York to make use of mental health incident review panels. These review panels, which have never been used despite being state law for over a decade, are intended to prevent future harm of an individual experiencing a mental health crisis. Lastly, the Public Advocate continues to speak at various hearings regarding the ongoing city budget, advocating to ensure city residents receive the funding they need for education, mental health, affordable housing, and assisting asylum seekers and others amid federal cuts. And we are also currently hiring in a number of positions. And if you're interested in looking at the roles that we're hiring for, you can visit our website at advocate.nyc.gov/opportunities. And lastly, as always, you can always reach out to our office by contacting gethelp at advocate.nyc.gov or by calling 212-669-7250. Thanks so much.
Julia next.
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Mayanza. I'm a community engagement coordinator from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office with a few announcements today on two cases. The first one, and I promise this isn't clickbait, is Head Grinch, who led ID theft operation that stole credit cards, phones from club goers, is convicted at trial. It was the trial conviction of Julian Pomales, which happened a few weeks ago. He was the ringleader of this criminal ring that stole credit cards, stole phones, and used that to purchase more than $420,000 worth of luxury products, Apple products, by stealing people's goods at Manhattan nightclubs, taking advantage of people who are intoxicated, and they resold all of that for cash. And this is a process referred to as grinching, thus the title. This is a really interesting case that really gets to some of the financial fraud work our office does in combination and partnership with the NYPD. And it's an especially good announcement because it goes through some of our recent indictments and recent cases. These are topics that I feel like are a little bit less in the news, but are obviously extremely important, including a lot of identity theft, preying on older adults and workers, tenants, things like that of their hard-earned money. I would encourage you to sign up for some of our press releases as well as for our newsletter, which goes out. We won't spam you. It's every other week, every other Friday. That can really give you a look at what our office is actually doing on a day-to-day basis and certain things that you may not be able to see every day, as they might not make the same headlines that some other things do, but are obviously very, very important, and I think speak to a lot of the quality of life issues I hear about both at the community board, community council meetings, and elsewhere. I also really wanted to touch on the indictment of Luis Ramirez for terroristic threats against Central Synagogue. If you saw this, this was extremely terrifying. He was stopped driving into the Lincoln Tunnel into Manhattan and is being charged with hate crimes for making a terroristic threat. I would urge you to also look at that indictment if that was a case of concern to you. And if you have questions about that or other hate crimes matters, always happy to talk. mayanzaj@danny.nyc.gov. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thanks. Next, Senator Hoylman-Siegel.
Thanks, Max. Hello, everyone. Brad Hoylman-Siegel reporting live from Albany. our state capitol. Thank you to the district attorney for his work on hate crimes and financial fraud. I've worked closely with him on developing and passing bills in both of those regards. You know, we're in the throes of putting the final touches on the New York State budget, which is $254 billion of your tax dollars at work. We are probably going to have to go back to Albany at some point, return after the legislative session, which ends on June 12th, to deal with cuts that we expect from the Trump administration, particularly in the area of Medicaid. Thanks to everyone who came out to our town hall 2 weeks ago. We had over 1,600 people RSVP. Unfortunately, the Society for Ethical Culture only seated 850, but we're glad that as many people got into the room as they did. On the budget, discovery law reform, there's $120 million to support compliance with the discovery law and some changes that's going to make it less often where cases, particularly felony cases, are thrown out for technicalities. On involuntary commitment, second big ticket item that the governor has been advancing, the standard for involuntary commitment is going to be adjusted to include situations where people are dangerous to themselves and direct them into treatment. I'm proud that the bill that Micah Lasher and I wrote about expanding the number of individuals who can make that determination, healthcare and mental health experts, has been expanded to include psychiatric nurse practitioners. There's a ban on cell phones. You've probably been read about. It's called bell to bell. Any student in a public school is going to have to drop their phone off, and unless they're covered under an exception, such as somebody who is actually a caregiver at home. And the governor originally proposed a new crime of mass harassment. Wisely, the legislature moved away from that, and we have a much reduced version. The new crime is only going to apply in the event of somebody commits a serious Class A misdemeanor or felony while already wearing a mask without a legitimate purpose. So if you wear a mask for health reasons, if you're in a protest, you're going to be protected. So that is something my colleagues fought for. Wanted also to mention that there is a remarkable settlement today, $750 million to be paid to women who were abused by Dr. Robert Haddon at Columbia University and New York Presbyterian. That's one of the largest settlements in history. That was made possible by the bill that Linda Rosenthal and I passed called the Adult Survivors Act. So much needed relief to those survivors, although money is never going to be enough for the crimes that they had to endure. And I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that we're going to get millions of dollars for public radio. We know that Donald Trump and his cronies in Washington have tried to cut the legs out of public broadcasting. Well, the state legislature is poised to support public radio to the tune of $4 million. We're going to have to do more to support local journalism. I passed a bill last year in the budget that allows local publications to hire more reporters and a $90 million revolving tax credit, which is in effect now. So this is another effort to shore up local journalism and fight the disinformation that we're all subject to coming from, whether it's online or on our TV screens. That's a quick summary. Got a lot more to talk about. Esther Caroline, my incredibly able colleague, is in the room if you want to ask questions of her. Thank you very much.
That segment, so back to Beverly. Thank you.
Okay, it is time for our roll call. So please, Alex, are we ready? Okay. Please, if you are here or online, please enter yes on your phone.
This is when we find out. If you don't vote here, you do not count. We're at 34. Oh, 4 members. Oh, yeah, I know. She said definitely. What's the latest? Yeah. All right.
Is there anyone else having difficulty?
This is Blanche Lawton. I don't know if I'm getting through, but I'm here.
Blanche.
Yep,
Okay, we'll count you, Blanche.
thank you.
Blanche is. Did you add Blanche?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Last one. Oh, this is total 40.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll close the vote and hopefully you've all registered that you are present. I'd like to call on Housing and Land Use to present their one resolution.
Could I have the slides up, please? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we are here to talk about the resolution regarding the ABC Disney site. Oh, this is not coming up so well. Okay, well, you'll have to take my word for it. We're talking about this site right here, this sort of reddish rectangle-ish space. It is located between West 66th and West 67th Street, between Columbus and Central Park West. It is partially, what is not coming through very clearly is it's partially in the Upper West Side Central Park West Historic District. Okay, so it's basically just the edge of this, the eastern edge of the site is part of the historic district, which adds a little bit of complication to it. The current zoning for this block is C47, which is an R10 equivalent. It means it's a high density district with commercial overlay. Right now, it has no height restrictions and no affordable housing requirements. ABC, just to give you a little bit of the history, ABC in 2018 decided to move their headquarters downtown, build a new headquarters, and sold their property to Silverstein Properties. In 2022, Silverstein then sold it to Extile Development, who now owns the property. Can I have the next slide, please? And Silverstein now owns, this is just, oh wow, really doesn't look good. Silverstein owns now this whole property and has, sorry, not Silverstein, Extile, and has bought the option for air rights from 40 West 67th and 50 West 67th. So they've got a tremendous amount of floor area to work with on quite a big lot. This is a huge, probably the biggest parcel left on the Upper West Side for development. It's a huge opportunity, we think, especially to make a dent in the affordability crisis that we have going. We're hoping that we can have some influence in that. Can I go back to the previous slide? Thank you. So to give you a little bit of history, this is the dark black is the special Lincoln Square district. It was originally created without including this block. The idea being providing an incentive for ABC and Disney to stay and keep their headquarters here. But now that they've left, we're left with a parcel that doesn't have really many restrictions at all on it. In 2021, CB7, along with Landmark West, submitted a proposal for a text amendment to the Department of City Planning, hoping to redraw that boundary and bring it back within, imposing some additional restrictions on the development. That was unsuccessful, stalled in city planning, and they said it's not going to be successful. So in the interim, we've had conversations, CB7, Landmark West, and Councilperson Brewer, who might be here or will be here, have had a few conversations with Extel about what their plans are and what we'd like to see on the site. It's a difficult conversation in that right now all of their plans are as of right, which means that they can build it without any special approvals, without even any consultation with us. What we are hoping for, though, is to have a say in what happens in the future of the site. We have built over the past couple of months a consensus among the committee, the Housing and Land Use Committee, that we are willing to trade a certain amount of bulk, that means floor area and height, in exchange for mandated affordable housing on site. What we are asking for in this resolution is two things. We know that city planning is in the process of drafting a text amendment that has to do with this block. Their priorities are about bulk regulations and street wall requirements. What we'd like to ask them to also consider, number one, is to map what's called a C411 district. This is one of the new high-density districts that's potentially available to us as part of the City of Yes legislation that recently passed. What it does is it gives more floor area to the developer, but with the requirement that 20% of the residential square footage would be mandated as on-site permanently affordable housing. So we're asking city planning to consider that, and secondly, to come talk to us, share their details, and hopefully engage in a productive conversation with us so that we can positively influence the future of this development. Any questions?
And I'll speak then if no one. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I appreciate the work and the perspective, and I certainly agree with the idea of trying to get as much as we can out of what is otherwise a space that we essentially have no influence on. That being said, I think there's a lot of veiled conversations that are happening about this. Again, I understand that that's their right and that we don't have the same transparency that we might have in other situations. I also think that what the Upper West Side doesn't need is a 1,600 foot or a 1,400 foot or 1,200 foot tower when there's a glut of luxury units. And again, I appreciate 20% floor space for affordable housing. I'm not opposing that by any means, but I think that this idea of just rolling over because someone has, like, I think right of way is or whatever, as of right, excuse me, as of right, like, I don't really care about that. I mean, it's the Upper West Side. This is the neighborhood that fought the power broker Robert Moses and won, right? So, if we're going to talk about, but if we're going to, if we want to take on Donald Trump and we want to talk about these pie in the sky ideas at every committee meeting, I don't see why this can't be something that is much more tangible, is much more about the lived experience of Upper West Siders. Again, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be development on that site. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be affordable housing. Of course, I support that. But I think we should be a little more engaged and a little more active because I think if you ask the majority of people in this neighborhood, what they don't want is another tower. I'm going to go just back of the room and then I'll come around.
Just to respond to one point there very specifically, this is very much not the end of a process. This is at the very beginning. So if, we pass this resolution, if city planning listens to us and says, actually, that's a really good idea, then there is going to be months of work. There is going to be environmental review where they're going to come ask us for our opinion. During ULURP, they're going to come ask us for our opinion. So I really don't think that this is a time where it's like now or never, like we have to fight here or something happens. I think this is a real opportunity to say, like, this is what CB7 is interested in, and there's going to be tons of discussion in the future of how tall should this building be? Where should the bulk of this building be? All that this resolution is really saying is we think there should be affordable housing on this site because we think that's what matters. And in order to do that, we're going to say there needs to be a zoning change here to make sure that that affordable housing is built.
Hello. I welcome your remarks. I don't think that your rather sanguine view is quite the way to look at all of this. There are 2 or 3 people on this board, including our very able co-chairs, excellent co-chairs, who have been trying to meet over many, many months and occasionally to talk to staff or architects. There is no ULURP on this site. That ain't too good, is it? And there's a question why. In addition, I have a number of other points. I'm sorry, which I don't want to bore people with, but I think that I take a small item in the therefore be it resolved. Sorry, I'll turn this way, so I didn't mean to have my back to. In light of in the therefore be it resolved, the first one, the last bullet there, this may not appear to be a very important item. It's certainly one that is not clear right now, and that is, in light of the affordability crisis in our district, Community Board 7 Manhattan, I go to the last bullet. I have questions about all the others, but I'll just take this one. Supports the potential use of the buildings on the site within the Upper West Side, Central Park West Historic District as community facilities. I have a lot of trouble understanding that one completely. If I may say just another couple of, okay. I know that having been at the last meeting that the council member, indeed, Gail Brewer had expressed to me and in a maybe different way to Richard, that's from years ago, but she also did express that, for example, the museum that is nearby and that, I'm sorry? Yeah, right. And that they now has been a news release that they're going to close and be engaging in rehab. Some of us in the room, many of us, said that it is indeed the Lincoln Square District. This is a huge project. And what would the developer and city planning ask for to provide for other uses that would be necessary and an asset to the community and the city? So it wasn't clear here. And then lastly, I know it's a technical point. I just would hope, because there are a lot of good planners on this board and who know what they are doing, including Louisa, who's had a lot of experience. But to be saying each time C411 in parenthesis R11 equivalent, I may know and question others, but we've got to really clarify and not take another hour or two, not to really give a real talking to city planning and to the developer. And that's what we should be doing in a traditional way, even if this is the last big development and Extel tends to get everything it wants and to get a building that's as big as possible. We've got some work to do, and it won't hurt us to really put in the time, the knowledge, the effort now and in the future weeks. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to pass it up front so that they can reply, and then we'll go back to the folks we had.
I just have a quick question. So are you proposing any amendments, Ethel, or are you proposing any amendments to those 2 bullets or no? Okay, just checking.
I'll just speak to the community uses. So yes, the idea is that the historical building right here, that the DCP should consider recommending the use for community use, which could be the Museum of Folk Art, which needs a new home, or something else. Gail had mentioned schools or some other community use. Now, because of timing, right, this building might not be ready for 2 or 3 years. That might be past the time that the Folk Art Museum needs. So that's why it's written a little more broadly. So it could be any community use that people deem useful.
We have to go in order first.
Yeah, oh, I don't know, Ethel, but I'll be way quicker than that. I just want to reiterate like how we got to this point. We can have an as of right tower that is tall with no affordability, or we can do our best to advocate for a city planning to take some action that again could potentially give us some say or recommendation in the process and some affordability. So I don't see any reason to advocate against this resolution. All we're saying is please consider giving us the chance for affordability. So we can go back and forth for an hour over it, but in the end, that's what the resolution is about. I think we should focus on that.
Thank you. In the process of developing the resolution, I think there are two things to focus on. One is a process that this board has used in the past, which is not a part of the process, but which we have instituted, I think, and that is to arrange speaking to city planning before they introduce their text amendment, or in other cases, a ULURP, because once it's out there, it's hard to change. And if we have the discussion in advance, we can have input and show that, well, if you do this, then we will support that. And that's like a deal in advance, so that what comes to us is not something we have to fight. It'll be something that's been worked out. The other important thing, which we have in the resolution amongst others, is we learned at Riverside South that although we thought we had 20% of the units, we did, but it was 11 or 12% of the square footage. This specifically points out that the affordable should be 20% of the square footage. I urge support of the resolution.
I have the order. First, I want to thank Seema for very eloquently explaining the history and summarizing it several years in just a few minutes. This is a tough one. It really is. And I want to talk about bargaining chips for a second. This is an open question for the peanut gallery. We are proposing a resolution, and fundamentally I support it. The idea of having mandatory affordable housing somewhere versus potentially none, to me is a no-brainer. But we're voting on a resolution now, and this is a question, not a statement, is are we giving away our bargaining chips to the Department of City Planning and to the developer? Because the Department of City Planning, as far as I know, we don't know what their text amendment change is going to be. I'd like to see what it is to understand whether or not we want to hold our support for it. And, you know, the other, just a minor correction, I know you said he bought the air rights, he optioned it so that if he gets the ability to use them, then he closes out on the option. And again, that's another issue toward a bargaining chip. So the question is this premature? I'm not saying it is. I would like to know what city planning has in mind to know if it's something that we support or not.
Yeah, okay, chair's prerogative. We are in this resolution asking city planning to attend the next meeting of the Housing and Land Use Committee. That is the beginning of the dialogue. I think essentially we want to know what's in their plan. This is the avenue to get that information. That's essentially the way to look at it, I believe.
Yes, I concur with what Beverly said. Yes, this is I need to be in the discussion and to influence that discussion. Also, after DCP releases what they want to release, nothing's stopping us from opining again.
I'm keeping the order in mind. I got it. So.
Thank you. Okay, I've been thinking about this and several things. The first thing is just very, very simply, we can't just say community facilities. Community facilities also includes doctor's offices. What we would have to do is nonprofit community facilities and put that in, which makes a big difference with what they would do. The second thing is listening to everybody. And I was at the meeting, of course. I think that, you know, R11 has not been written yet, or at least it has not been released. We do not know what it is. So to a certain extent, we are endorsing something that we do not know what it is. So I hate to say this, Seema, but I think we should rewrite this with the emphasis on that it is essential for us to sit down with city planning to know what they are planning to do before we can actually endorse what we are saying. We want the 20%, absolutely. We want maybe more if we can get it. But we have to know what R11 is going to be.
Yeah, our proposed amendment, which we submitted in 2021 and which city planning has apparently rejected, acknowledged that there was an R10 as of right on this site, which means that the developer could have built a huge 1,200 foot, 1,600 foot tower, or maybe two of them. Our proposal was to include the site in the Lincoln Square Special District, which would have had serious height restrictions. There is a debate going on as to whether it is better to have a tower and lower buildings on the side street, or to have the bulk distributed evenly. This resolution does not deal with that. This resolution allows us to comment whenever city planning gets around to it on the exact, the details of what they're proposing. What is not going to happen is that the FAR is not going to go below 10. We didn't even ask for it to go below 10. And the only thing that we're saying here is that that in exchange for 20% affordable housing, we're allowing the project to be 20% bigger, so that every square foot of the addition over 10 R10, FAR 10 is affordable. That doesn't say anything at all about whether we approve of the configuration that city planning comes up with, which is the most important thing. It certainly doesn't say anything about allowing for a bigger tower. We stayed away from that because we don't know what city planning's come up with.
So I'm a member of the committee and I participated in the discussion, and I kudos, as other people have said, to our committee chairs and to Beverly on this, and even their predecessors. It's been going on for 4 or 5 years. I have some reservations about this, and while they largely overlap those of, I think, Louisa and Doug most closely, I'll phrase it as quickly as I can in a somewhat different way. I am somewhat afraid of our being, the word I used at the committee is snookered. Sandbagged is another word. We're letting it out publicly that we are not unwilling to see some version of more height or more bulk here in exchange for, as we would have it, affordable housing. And I completely agree with all of our
the importance to us of on-site affordable housing in our district, which is a desperate matter. My particular concerns here are given that in these 4 or 5 years, city planning, the Department of City Planning, notwithstanding the fact that it was the sponsor and spent a huge amount of time under the current mayor on the City of Yes housing, they have been so opaque with us about whatever they're thinking of for a zoning amendment. They've never met with us at our committee. And best we can make out by way of rumor, whatever their proposed zoning amendment is, it does not include affordable housing. So that's number one. Number two, aside from my largely agreeing with others, number two, my reservation is whether it's more height or more bulk that we seem to be saying we're amenable to without any ability to know that we'll get affordable housing in return. I am concerned about shadows on Lincoln Center and on, for that matter, Amsterdam houses and other areas to the west. We all know what happened with the super talls to the north, the light to the north, but here we're looking to the west. So I abstained. I think I'll abstain tonight. I think people understand that an abstention actually, in terms of a vote count, serves as effectively a negative vote. I'm reluctant to do that because of the importance to affordable housing to us. But I think we're a bit buying a pig in a poke by saying, okay, fine, we're amenable in some fashion to more height or more bulk without, in terms of others would have said too, without really knowing that we're going to get something in return.
Are there any additional comments from board members? We don't open to. Oh, sorry. Oh, got it. I'll go there and then. Yep. Give me 1 second. I was part of the discussions of approving this resolution as well, and I will just say, like, I think the risk of us being sandbagged, snookered, what have you, is rather overblown. The only way that we're getting we're going to give more additional bulk is through this C11-4, is it? C4-11 zoning. C4-7. Okay. Through this new zoning that was made available by City of Yes. If that is made available, if that bulk is made available, that means if it is used, it has to be affordable. There, you are either getting both or you are getting neither. And I just thought that was important to clarify before we take this to a vote. Yep, I got it.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what was said just before. I think what's so exciting about this resolution is that we came together and we've put affordable housing at the forefront and said that we know that it is likely to be a large/bulky building, but that if there is going to be more bulk or height in this district, that it will mandate affordable housing is built. And I think that's why I'm voting in favor. The mandating of affordable housing and our sort of on the record support for affordable housing, I think is really important at this time, and I'm excited to vote in favor of it.
All right, we have one more comment here.
Hi, it's actually a question more than a comment. Hi, my name is Nandita. I'm a member of the community. My question is, I guess it's my lack of familiarity with the 20% affordable housing. I know you talked about square footage, but I was wondering if in the past, the community board has requested that 20% is distributed proportionally by the number of units, like the number of studios, number of 1 bedrooms, number of 2 bedrooms is 20% each. I don't know if someone from the community can answer that question.
Hold on, I'm not so sure.
That sort of thing can be negotiated further down the line, and different community boards and council members have negotiated that in different ways. It tends not to be related to the zoning, but like a points of agreement or something that would happen much closer to the end of the process than right now.
Hold on.
Most importantly, Riverside Center, which was the last largest project of this board, we fought for 20% square footage, looking back at what the mistake was with Riverside South, and we got it. Okay, so it isn't negotiable. Anything is negotiable. It's just how much leverage do you have?
Okay, I just wanted to answer a couple of the questions. Clary, you know, one of the difficulties that we've had with this whole process is a fight between our negotiation, so to speak, and also our responsibility of being transparent. And that's just a difficult balance. And while we might have erred toward negotiation before, we've now erred toward transparency here. We are certainly showing our cards on the table, but we're hoping that, you know, with a strong resolution that we will hopefully make progress. The other thing, so Louisa, we can add nonprofit. I think that's a great suggestion. Instead of C411, should we soften it, C411 or something similar, something like that? Would that make you happy? Because right now C411 is actually in the Midtown rezoning, but just not totally through that process. I think we should say it, just because it is a new zoning designation, but we can soften it. Okay, shall we call the question?
No, no one else raised there. That was it.
Okay. Yes.
Voting is open. I don't know why it's not showing on the screen, but voting is open.
Okay, here we go.
And
Does this come to city planning? Do they come to us, or do we go to them with this before they give us any kind of idea of anything?
So we've been in conversation with them. We will certainly send them this resolution when it passes and then request a meeting. Sorry. Sorry.
I think it will, but yeah, no, I know. We're still missing a few votes, so if you haven't voted, we're still missing like 7 votes. You right, abstain. Paige, you need help? There you go.
We got 3 manual votes, so right now we're at 32-170. Okay. All right, 5, 4. Did you get this one right? Yes. Yep, got it. So, okay. 3, 2, 1, done. What's the final? 33-180.
Carries 33-180.
Thank you. Next up is Health and Human Services, which has 2. And before I do that, I want to amend the waiver list I announced at the beginning to add Sophia Vala. Thank you.
It's okay to stand here? All right, okay. Because of the tough on crime laws of the 1970s and 1990s, we have an exorbitant number of people in our prison system serving decades-long prison sentences. I think we have I forgot the statistic. Every year, I think we get almost 1,000 serving at least 10 sentenced to at least 10 years. We are the 3rd state. We're number 3 on the list of states with life sentences, the most life sentences. So we, at our latest, at our May committee meeting of Health and Human Services, we heard 3 different proposals for sentencing reform. And we voted on all 3 of them. 2 of them passed very handily, unanimously with 1 abstention. And 1 of them resulted in a tie vote. And we felt that more discussion was needed. That was, the subject of that was to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences. So we're not, that didn't make it to the full board. But the 2 ones that did were much less controversial. And I'm going to describe the first one, and then Saralee is going to describe the second one. So the first one is called the Second Look Act. And what that does is it empowers judges under certain circumstances to take a second look at a sentence, not that they imposed, it goes to a different judge, but somebody who has served at least 10 years or half of a sentence of at least 10 years can apply for the second look at their sentence. And not just prisoners have been asking for this, judges have been asking for this. And in fact, it was the Chief Justice of the New York State Supreme Court convened a task force on sentencing or just on judicial reform. And this was one of the recommendations, the Second Look Act. And it has the support of Brodheim and Siegel. He's a co-sponsor, Linda Rosenthal, Senators Cordell Clear, Jose Serrano. And it has a lot of other co-sponsors. So maybe we should talk about, oh, okay, questions on that.
A very important point is that at the hearing before the judge after 10 years, the victim's family, victim and victim's family will be able to testify. I think that's very important.
Any additional questions or comments on this first one? Yes, one moment.
One of the hoped for, I think, side effects of this proposed legislation is that it may go a long way to reducing violent crime within prisons. Because if the prisoners know they have a chance to have their sentence reduced, they're going to be more likely to be on their best behavior. I think it's a fabulous proposed act, and I urge everybody to vote for it.
Any additional questions or comments on this first proposal?
I want to echo what Shelley said. I watched the committee meeting. I was very moved by some of the speakers. I was disappointed, however, that at the committee meeting, nobody from victims were there. No one from prosecution was there. No one from law enforcement was there. However, I do think that the testimony and the discussion was very fruitful and very compelling. I understand that at any of these hearings for a second look, as Shelley said, that victims will be able to speak. I just want to confirm that that is in the writing of the legislation, and if it's not, I would like to make a friendly amendment that it is absolutely required, because I would not vote for something unless victims had a chance. And in many cases, victims do have compassion and forgiveness, and they understand this. So I just want to make sure that it's absolutely in this bill, and if it's not, that we iterate it. Thank you.
I'll just give a personal comment. I'm on this committee. I think, Doug, I will respectfully disagree on the presumption of like needing the opposing side on every issue. I don't think that's a requirement on many of the things that we talk about. And so I don't, I just respectful, that's all. I think for this, I will say like I was pretty skeptical of all of the things that came before us that night. And I left with a very changed opinion of it. I think what was most important for me was this concept that none of these are requirements to do anything other than to give people an additional opportunity. for judges to have an additional opportunity, for folks who are incarcerated to have an additional opportunity, and for victims and all that as well. And so I think this is just a net positive. There's no negative that comes along with it. I'm going to just go.
Just very quickly, we didn't have any of the people you suggest, but we did have a community member who spoke on the side that a prosecutor or a victim would have taken, and we listened to him, and I think that his testimony was appreciated.
How does this juxtapose with parole hearings? With parole hearings?
Right. Well, this would presumably happen before a parole hearing. I have to confess I'm not up on the law on when you're eligible for parole, but oh, Eli, you'll be able.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Northrup. I'm the policy director for the criminal defense practice at the Bronx Defenders, and I did present in front of the committee about these 3 bills. I'm a member of the Communities Not Cages campaign, which has worked on them and helped to write them. So this is a separate opportunity from parole. Actually, many people serving long sentences, determinate sentences, are not eligible for parole, so they wouldn't have a chance to go before a parole board. But so this would be a separate process directly to a judge asking for resentencing.
So Doug, to directly address your question, the Act specifically includes provisions for victims and victims' families to be heard, and not only allows judges to consider victims' statements, but requires judges to consider any statements from victims or their families as part of the second look, allowing victims to express their feelings, concerns, or even support for the incarcerated person.
Got a couple more comments. You'll be third. Just go 1, 2. Speaking here in my capacity just as a member of the public, I would like to applaud the committee for following the evidence where it leads and not giving into any kind of political pressure. Would that we did this more often. Do you have a comment or no? No.
During the course of a very long incarceration, it is possible for a person to change. I'd like to know whether there's any discussion of change in making a decision on a particular prisoner.
Well, not just people change, but laws change, social mores change, especially when we're talking about decades. Does that answer your question? Or no? What?
There are people who change dramatically for the better while they are in prison. And so the question I have is, would that not be appropriate in the hearing so that when the decision is made, a positive change in the prisoner has a big impact?
Absolutely, that can come up. Yeah.
We discussed and we voted on. The other act is called the what? Oh, one of the first one, but okay.
Well, we could bundle. Okay.
All right, question is open.
Please vote using your number.
Cause. Yeah, voting is open.
Abstain, cause, yes, no?
Just a reminder, if you're abstaining with cause, you'll have to declare your cause, as I was reminded. Oh, yeah. Did you?
Okay, we're at 35,021. Actually, we're at 30.
I think we're at the capacity now. That's it. We have the result. So carries 38,021.
This out up front. Sorry. I work for the state and I promised colleague I wouldn't vote on anything related to the state.
Sorry. Sorry.
The second act is called the Earn Time Act, and it may respond to your question. It is particularly focused on the fact that despite a lot of research finding that longer prison terms don't reduce crime or help our society, the New York State prison apparatus continues to impose very long and unfair, sometimes, sentences. In an effort to address this, the legislature introduced a bill that strengthens the concept of good time, and also that includes good time and merit time. It includes the possibility that people who are incarcerated for a long time may take courses while they're incarcerated, may do things that help the community that they're in, and they can earn, each year they can earn time off their sentence under this act. The act is an amendment to an act that's already on the books, and it was passed in the 1990s and was pretty draconian. So what this is an effort to get people, to give people the opportunity to reduce the time that they're imprisoned. And it's in fact available to every prisoner except people who are serving lifetime in prison without the possibility of parole. So everybody else who's in prison, who is able to take courses, do good things, help the prison environment, they have an opportunity under this act to reduce their sentence. And each year it is decided whether a person's sentence will be reduced. If it is reduced this year and they do something not so good next year, you can't give it, you can't say that they have to go back to the original amount of time. It is an encouragement for people to do their best to get out of prison. And it seems not to be very radical. It requires every year the prison facility to make a determination about each person and what they've done and how they've done it. And if a person is denied good time, that is, if their prison sentence is not going to be reduced, the prison apparatus has to have a hearing to determine why that is and what they've done, and to come to a public determination about why that person is denied good time.
1 second.
So guys, I think I'm comfortable with the idea of expanding the circumstances under which sentences can be revisited as you described. But I have a question. Saralee, as you described it, I understood it to mean that every single prisoner in every single prison in New York has their sentence evaluated for good things every single year. That does not sound to me credible that that really happens. Do you have any handle on that?
That's a really good question. I don't think the prison apparatus can do a whole lot of good things in an organized way, but Eli Northrop has his hand up and he's our expert.
You should have sat in the front there.
I can come to the front if it's helpful. I know a lot about the bill, but currently every single individual has the opportunity to earn good time. So that's actually not a change. What this bill does is it expands the amount of good time somebody can earn. New York is actually way behind the vast majority of states. There was truth in sentencing laws in the 90s where New York received millions of dollars from the federal government for being harsher in sentencing. We stopped receiving that money decades ago, but we never changed the laws. Oklahoma, Alabama, you can earn over 50% of your sentence off in good time. In New York, it's 1/7. So we just have never gone back and revisited these laws. In terms of the practical nature of accounting for the good time, if they're infractions, then that would lead to you losing good time. Otherwise, people are essentially entitled to it, and they earn it now. Merit time, which is the other part of it, which you'd have to account for, you earn merit time after completing specific programs. And so prisons already keep track of that programming now. And this would expand who can get merit time. Because right now, only a limited, actually, I think it's about 18% of the population is eligible for merit time, which is programming. The vast majority of people can't even earn time off through programming. But they do have ways to document that, and they do it now. It would just be more people that were eligible for it.
Okay, I'm going to come to you second. No, we have a couple more comments.
Who determines which programs, what type of activities qualify to earn merit time? And are there any objective limitations as to how much in this proposal, as to how much, what percentage of your sentence you can earn, et cetera?
It's in statute, and it's determined by the Department of Corrections. Right now, it's statutory, the programs that can earn you merit time. Yeah, there's, I think, 5 or 6, and they include kind of a catch-all that the Department of Corrections can do, but it's within the discretion of the department outside of the statutory enumerated ones. It would be 25%.
I just want to voice some support for this resolution. My spouse teaches upstate at a prison through John Jay College. It's a small program. It could be much larger, but talk about lives being changed and people's lives really turning around as a result of these things. So yes.
Any additional questions or comments before we call to question? Right. Call to question. Right. Voting is open. Carries 37011. The ineligible for cause, is that, who was that? Oh, same reason. Okay.
Thank you. Next, parks. Natasha and Daria.
So I will be presenting an update to the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, specifically a resolution to approve the lighting and infrastructure updates. And next slide, please. So I don't know if you guys remember, but a year ago, we approved a plan for the restoration of the monument and to make it ADA compliant. And and that plan got approval from us, from the Landmark Commission, and also the Public Design Commission. Next slide. So the Parks Department came back to us for it's a bit bright. Is there some way we can, there's no way? So the Parks Department came back to us with a proposal for lighting and updates to the infrastructure. And this is the current lighting setup. It's a little bit hard to see, but around the monument, you have these 25-foot floodlights. And there are also minor pole lights surrounding it and a few Bishop Crook poles. So that's the current lighting setup. Next slide. This is the floodlight. It's currently surrounding the monument on there are 5 of them on all sides. Next. Here are the Bishop Crook pole I mentioned. They're going to stay. And we understand that they are going to relocate. They would like to relocate 4 of these poles around the monument. Next one. This is the current lighting. It's not very flattering to the monument. It really inadequately lights the area. Next slide. You can see that, it's also is a problem for birds that are in migration and also resident birds. And in general, it's kind of this harsh lighting. Next one. So here's the schematic for what they would like to do. So the red X's are going to be those big floodlights. They're going to be removed. They're going to move some of the pole lamps to an area because the paths are now ADA accessible, so they have to move those B9 poles. And so the question is, how are we going to light the monument now that the floodlights are gone? And so the Parks Department really had to think about it, and they worked with the New York Bird Alliance to come up with a plan. Next one. So what they want to do is they want to put LED lighting inside the drum of this monument, right inside. And it creates this lantern effect. It reduces damage to the monument because it sits on the bottom of the interior drum, and it doesn't require drilling. So this will minimize impacts for birds. There are no poles. It's going to be skyward facing only within the drum, not outside it. Next one. And so it's kind of hard to see, but the round is inside the drum, the way it's going to be lit. Next one. And it's like almost like theatrical lighting. They're still working out a plan to cover up so that it doesn't get damaged from birds, but this is essentially the new lighting setup. And you can't quite see it here. This is the daytime rendering of the new setup. Next one. And this is what it's going to look like at night. So next one, please. So in order to support it, the Parks Department is proposing a few electrical upgrades to support this lighting change. The one great thing about this new lighting is that it's programmable. So what you can do is you can change it based on the seasons, based on the time of the day, and honestly based on the migration patterns of birds or even resident birds. So it's very neat that they'll be able to change the lighting patterns based on a bunch of factors. They couldn't do that before. However, these proposed electrical cabinets are huge. It's 6 feet tall, that's 8 feet by 4 feet footprint. Next one. And then in order to support the water surface, they also have to install an RPZ to prevent backflow of contaminated water back into the main lines. Next one. But They presented a plan for plantings. It's going to be native plantings and evergreen. They're going to cover this up. This is from Riverside Park, looking into the electrical components. They're 6 feet tall, but you can't see them. Next one. And then this is where the RPZ is going to be located. We're looking at Riverside Drive, and you can't see them again. It's covered by evergreens. It's covered by native plants. Go ahead. And then the last thing they're going to do is, in the first proposal, they talked about a drainage system that was, and then so they're installing drains, like trench drains and deck drains. And that's it. And so this is the proposal. We, the community board, really appreciated the presentation. We thought that the Parks Department's engagement with the New York Bird Alliance was great, and we thought that the lighting plan did a really good job of keeping like the historical view well preserved while also being able to integrate all the concerns related to lighting. So it was approved in committee with a vote of 8 to 0 to 0 to 0 by committee members, and non-committee it was 1 to 0 to 0 to 0.
It's a question that may turn into a comment. When you talked about, and this would be typical of LED lighting, the ability to change the lighting with the push of a button or two. Typically with LED, excuse me, LED lighting, which I guess is now at the top of the Empire State Building, et cetera, you can use different colors and all sorts of effects. Is different colors and effects part of this? I mean, that does not appeal to me in this particular, something other than white light in this drama is not appealing to me. What do you know about that?
They did say it's going to be a soft light. It's not white. LED comes in 2 colors, at least 2 colors. And the committee overwhelmingly was like really impressed with it. They thought that lighting this, as they described, like a lantern, was really just a spectacular way to go.
I understand the concern about the lighting color. I actually went and looked at that specific question separate from the meeting. And one of the things I learned was that bright lights within a certain Kelvin area is much more distracting from birds. And then when they described it as a softer light. So this is something that for sure that they considered in their proposal. Oh yeah, they only talked about white soft light.
Just a simple question. Do you know what the budget was for this project?
The whole thing was like 67 million.
The budget is on the first slide. It's 62.3 million. Yes, it's for the whole thing. This is tucked within the entire proposal for the reconstruction. Call the question.
Alex, can you throw up the? We're at 41, but it's 10 more seconds. Carries 38010.
Thank you. What do we have left? We have council member, are you okay? We will. YEL. Avi, would you like to present? Here you go.
Hi, so we're going to be presenting the resolution in support of New York State Education Department refusal to comply with the Trump administration's demand that it cut diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. I'm going to have Jamie talk a little bit about the bill as she wrote it, or co-wrote it.
Hi. I like that he said Bill. Made me feel good. Okay, so this is actually a little different because we're actually writing in support of something. So we feel kind of enthusiastic about it. At least some of us do. It's out of YEL. I'm not on the committee, but I came to the committee with the resolution, so that's why I'm standing in front of you. And it's in support of the New York State Department of Education and specifically in support of the department's refusal to certify to the Trump administration that New York State and city schools will forego DEI programs and policies as a fundamental basis for receiving federal funding. And just to back up a little bit, and this would include curricular, staffing, and other decisions that the state feels would be better left to state and local educators. And by way of background, now I'm backing up, last month, the Trump administration made a demand for certification that was on April 3rd with the threat that it would rescind all federal monies to all public school systems, not just ours, all public school systems nationwide, if they refuse to sign the certification. So to be clear, and I said this at YEL, in my opinion, this is not about DEI. That's a red herring. And this is what Commissioner Rosa and legal counsel Daniel Morton Bentley said. It would be this in their letter to the Trump administration. This would be the same if the administration told the public schools to stop teaching evolution or sex education or the history of the Holocaust, or began to dictate any other principles of who they could hire or fire or any other edict like that. So the underlying principle is that New York State and city departments of education are insisting upon their independence to make policy decisions appropriate to the needs of their student populations. And the state of New York is standing up for its students, its staff, its teachers, and the letter from the council makes that very clear, and our resolution simply supports that letter. YEL voted 7-1-0-0 in support of the resolution. I will add that immediately after New York took the lead, the day after the Trump administration demand for certification, departments around the country, departments of education around the country started to follow suit. Connecticut the next day, and so on and so forth. So New York State was a leader, and we are just wanting to show support for the state. And so that's the resolution.
Thank you. The irony here is that the Trump administration has emphasized that education is a state responsibility and authority in the Constitution. And so anything that violates that on the part of the federal government is totally inappropriate.
Call the question. I want to thank Jamie and Kevin for writing and bringing this bill to committee.
We got 5 more seconds. Okay, yeah.
Just keep it open.
All right. 36010.
Okay, thank you. And then next up is BCI, Michele.
Hi, this is another state issue. The Office of Cannabis Management, who said that? Proposed some changes to their regs. And the one that we spoke about at the committee meeting was whether to reduce the legal, whether the distance between the legal dispensaries, because we're only talking about legal dispensaries, you have to remove yourself from all the other mishigas that goes on in the neighborhood. And there are, according to a good source, it's Doug, there are only 3 legal dispensaries in the community board, our community board, opened. But there are many applications pending. Right. So the issue is whether the distance between the legal dispensaries should be reduced to 500, a radius of 500 feet from a radius of 1,000 feet. And we talked about this for a long time, didn't we, Linda? I don't we there are, like I said, legally 3 open licensed cannabis dispensaries in the district. And mind you, this is a New York State rule. There are more than 3 illegal cannabis dispensaries open in the neighborhood. The statutes are interesting because they address municipalities of 20,000 people or more. Now, usually in the regs, you see a city of X amount, a municipality of 20,000, and then the rules are for cities of 1 million and over. But that's completely lacking in these regs. So we are considered a municipality of 20,000 people or more. Yeah, exactly right. Maybe on your block even. As we said before, many applicants are still waiting for their applications to be approved or denied or be processed. And I think there's a lawsuit out now. Yeah. But if the current 1,000 radius rule stands fast, there'll be, well, I think you told us, Doug, there's no areas in the district. Yeah, just clarify that.
Well, basically, right now, there's a 1,000-foot proximity protection from one licensed cannabis dispensary to another. That is not including the other radius restrictions that licensees have as it relates to houses of worship or schools. But this specific item is a legal dispensary to another. Yeah, I mean, a city block is approximately 200 feet, depending on what block you're measuring. Yeah, I mean, we did have a lot of discussion at the committee. It was very fruitful, and I mean, I'll just say I abstained at the moment because I could actually argue both sides of it. And the one side is that we have legal operators, people that want to benefit from getting a license, card operators who maybe were previously legally involved, and many others, and the state, can benefit from taxes, et cetera, and jobs. It goes on and on. The counter argument is that, and we should say on the record, that we asked the current licensed dispensaries in our neighborhood who are open how they felt about it, and naturally they objected because they don't want the competition. But in all fairness, if they were promised a 1,000-foot radius and then they were told that it's going to be 50%, that could be, So, yeah, so let me give back. I abstained at the committee, but how I vote now is a mystery.
Yeah, the committee voted 5-0 to 1-0. Yeah, Doug was the only one.
Comments, questions, we'll start here.
Michele, we've had similar restriction for liquor stores in the state forever. What's the current distance for liquor stores?
Be next to each other. Bars can be next to each other. But liquor stores, there might be I don't know, I forgot. We don't know.
there are different regs for liquor stores, and they are differentiated from wine and beer stores only, and that is very different from on-premise consumption licenses such as a restaurant or a bar, and also wine and beer licenses.
I will caution against drawing too much analogy between cannabis dispensaries and liquor stores. Part of the reason for restrictions on liquor stores and other premises selling alcohol is that alcohol is known to cause or exacerbate violent altercations. Cannabis is not. So, like, let's not pretend that this is like the Reefer Madness era, people.
So I just wanted to clarify. So the committee voted to reduce the, okay, just clarifying.
As a member of the committee, I just want to clarify that we were presented with changes that the legislators want to make, and we just seconded, right? This was not coming from us. They clearly have had some issues with this law as it's been in place for the past year, 2 years, and they said, we made an error, here are the changes we want to make, and we were convinced by the argument. Just want to make that clear. On this law.
So what, is there anything else in there as well, apart from this distance?
Sure, I'll come. I'm gonna...
My question, I think, can be answered by the council, or if not, someone on the committee. How many illegal shops do we currently have on the Upper West Side? Illegal.
I would say between 4 and 5 as opposed to 93, which is what we had before.
Yeah, I'm going to come to. I'm just going to give my own just quick comment on this. I will be opposing it only because I think at its heart, all it does is increase the density of permitted cannabis shops. I don't personally think that that's a good thing for any neighborhood. The sort of, I know, I understand. I understand, but regardless, like this is just an increase in density in, cannabis shops, and I'm just personally against that increase in the density. That's all.
I'm in agreement with Michael on that point, but I'm also feel very bad for the people who have legitimate shops now, and were told it was going to be 1,000. So it's violating that agreement to them. But I'd be opposed to it anyway. But I think there's a consideration there.
Any additional questions or comments?
Father, or they'll have, who's going to decide which one gets shut down?
No, nothing's shut down.
It's just maybe if they change these regs, part of the application will be you have to be 500 feet in a radius of 500 feet from another licensed dispensary. Okay, nobody's going to be shut down because they were granted a license under the 1,000-foot rule. One quick follow-up. I still don't quite understand. Forgive me if you explain this. Did they say why they are making this change?
Yes, I thought you wanted to. They said to support the growing industry. So I think that they are learning. I think that they, yeah, maybe they did that on purpose. Actually, that's funny. No, they said like recognizing that this is an evolving and changing industry, that the state has an obligation. I think it was to regulate growth, and so yeah, that was. And so I think once we read that in the committee, we were like, you know what, this makes sense. Why would we get in the way of this?
All right. Questions been called unless there are any other comments? Okay, voting is open. Voting is open. Just 10 more seconds. All right. 5, 4, 3. All right. Alex, what's the final? 11. Carries 24, 11, 4, 1.
Again, I think one of our members is having tech.
Okay, our final resolution for tonight is transportation. Elizabeth and Jamie, would you like to present?
Violating the rules. This is quick, I think. Elizabeth, are you there? Okay. This is a resolution. Okay, so we considered in transportation an application for a secondary street naming, or what is also known as a co-naming. I believe our trustee Andrew has pointed out it might say renaming in the resolution. So if it does, we should strike that. It should say co-naming at the northeast corner of West 93rd and West End Avenue in honor of Malachi McCourt. The committee considered the application at that corner and voted that the applicant has satisfied Manhattan Community Board 7's guidelines for the co-naming. The vote was 7-2-1-0. So that was 7 in favor, 2 opposed. There was 1 abstention. Pretty basic. Call the question.
Okay, we're open for votes. Votes. Okay, get your votes in. Get your votes in. Woo. Looks like we're currently at 25 4 26 4 4 0. All right, get the last votes in. 5 seconds. 4 3 2. All right, it carries 28 4 4 0.
Thank you. That's our final resolution, and I'd like to ask Councilmember Brewer to say a few words.
Dogs. So I know you heard earlier from, I think, the owner of Penny. The short version, from my perspective, hi, how are you? So sorry. Is that there are so many loopholes that unfortunately have been uncovered between state and city legislation. Just to give you one example, you can't even make a complaint to 311 about this. So that would just be one law that the city can pass. The state, and I know that Assemblymember Rosenthal's working on this, has to figure out the property issue, which is ridiculous, to get rid of that and make that a category that could be criminally liable and not property. That would be a state issue. We can work on the following. The Department of Health, which I did not know, could have, and we want to push, taken the dogs for 9 days of rabies look-alike, see what's going on, and then delayed it at ACC, Animal Control Center, till there was an oath hearing, administrative trial. Then they would be off the street. So that's what we're also going to push for, while we're waiting on legislation that would do that automatically. So we've learned a lot. There are even other laws that we have to try to change at the local level. But I have to say it was a shock to me, and I'm sure to others, that a person's dogs sort of pushed to do so. Mauling, assaulting another dog is not a criminal activity. So we're on that case to change the laws so that there is a very different approach to this issue. We got calls today from Brooklyn, actually, you should know this, with a similar situation and no way to address it. So we're on it, and we're going to be here tomorrow at 4 o'clock with the different agencies and individuals who are involved in the issue. Just so you know, we're very much trying to do the right thing. And the health department is coming, the police department is coming, and there'll be other agencies here. And thank you very much. Number two, the issue of participatory budgeting. I think you all get our newsletter, but every single item is going to be funded. So it's the tree guard, it's the bathrooms at Lillian Weber, it's the Riverside Park wall repair, it's the O'Shea School on 77th Street, the gym cooling system. And you'll laugh, well, that'll help with the cafeteria cooling system so that the people who are vendors won't be so warm when they're selling their jewelry, thank God, and they will leave me alone. And then the cooling system at Frank McCourt High School, which is at Brandeis, I will pick up in terms of the expense money that I have. And then also the same thing with the Broadway Mall and the railings that need to be fixed. So that's a good thing. At the same time, there's the ongoing budget of the city. Hearings are starting next week, and there'll be a whole month of them to figure out what we're going to do about the federal gaps and what we're going to do generally in terms of the budget, waiting on the state to see what they're going to do. So it's a very complicated, and if you're running a human services or a cultural or other nonprofit, it's pretty trying to figure out how you're going to do your services with the funding that you have. And I think there are many in the room who understand that. I'm also just like Reverend Carpenter, very supportive of the migrants. I can't even open the paper in the morning and see the hell that they are going through. So I just want to say we all should be thinking about how to help them. I know we've been working with you on the ABC sites. I'm sure you discussed it earlier. I want to thank the wonderful committee. Thank you very much, committee, for all your work on that issue. That was a huge amount. And we'll see what's next. You never know. One thing that I'm in deep hell for, which is Woolman Rink. I believe that Central Park Conservancy should take over Woolman Rink and not be related and not be Trump. But so far I've gotten a no from the Parks Commissioner and City Hall, and boy did I get blasted when I mentioned it at the end of my speech at the opening of the Davis Center. I didn't say Woolman Rink, I said, I hope that the wonderful Central Park Conservancy, which has put all this money and support on time, on budget into the Davis Center, could be responsible for that recreational center in the southern part of Central Park. And then I sat down. Oh boy, knowing exactly what I was doing. My understanding is that the Daily News is coming out this week with an editorial in support, and then we're going to go after the New York Times to do the same thing. I would love resolutions from the community board if you think it's appropriate, that it should go to the Central Park Conservancy. There would be symmetry between the two. They would do a great job. The reason they didn't apply for that RFP response is they want to do much more than what was in the RFP. The place needs a lot of work, and so they wouldn't be competitive because they would say, we'll offer 120 million, but really this is the cost. So just so you know, if you need more information, talk to CPC for your resolution. We have the Fresh Food for Seniors working out of Goddard with our office coming back soon. And I just want to mention there are a couple of resolutions. The helicopter issue is ongoing. I don't know, we did pass a law just recently in the city council, you know, that the noise issue should be addressed between now and 2029. It's a long time from now. Maybe but by then they'll have some electric helicopters. I'm not sure. And we still have the problem with New Jersey. So we need federal legislation. I assume you've already done, I think, if not, Ken will make sure a resolution in support of the national, because we can sit here and talk forever about the heliports coming out of our heliports, but New Jersey is what goes up and down. When I took a ride in one without the doors, I could see how close they were to Central Park and every other park. We also are trying to have, I have a bill that's pending to expand the public access to school playgrounds. We know how wonderful it is when the school playgrounds are open on the weekends. We also see at PS9, it's not open and it's locked. And I would like to see some of the larger playgrounds around the city open on the weekends. So the mayor put it in his, and the speaker put it in her state of the city. So we're hoping that that, at least in some form, passes. There are 2 charter revision commissions. I assume you have all testified at both of them. You should, I don't quite know what they, be careful of the mayor's one, because it says get rid of the city council and maybe the community boards in terms of ULURP. So you should definitely be paying attention to that and figure out what you want to say. That is no joke. Last time, everything that got on passed, some of which I don't think should have. So just be aware of that. I talked about the budget hearings. In the oversight committee that I chair, we're looking at ghost plates. You know how many ghost plates there are in this city. You would not believe it. In some neighborhoods, a quarter of the plates are illegal. Some of them are being sold out of the back of cars from Virginia. Some of them are ordered from Amazon, and they don't match the registration, needless to say. And some of them are just illegal. So I don't know how much is being lost in terms of the congestion pricing, but I do know it's often a stolen car, or it's a car that shouldn't be on the street because the driver shouldn't have a license. So this ghost plate thing is no joke in terms of trying to figure out how to get them off the street. We're looking at mental health beds because, in my opinion, mental health is the #1 issue, or the lack of support, and yet there's no place to put people on a regular basis. So we're trying to make that list and make it really clear where we do or do not have them. We had a hearing today on street vendors. Some like them, some don't, but it was a very lively and lots of discussion going on. And we're still working on the lawsuit regarding ICE on Rikers. I do not support ICE on Rikers. Others might, but I do think you'll never get the data. You can't even get any data out of the Department of Correction now, let alone if ICE was there. So we have lots of things coming up. We always have our regular housing clinic right here. We have a shred day coming up. We have the bike helmet day coming up. We have an oath hearing, oath coming to the district office so people can find out about any summonses they want answered. And then we have coming up in June, 2 things. One is at JCC, so many older adults are getting scammed. If you talk to the police department, it's literally every single day they are swamped with seniors getting scammed. And so we're going to have a hearing, not a hearing, we're going to have a meeting here with all the different parties to explain how it can be addressed. And then on June 21, down in Board 4 at Beverly Park, we have Make Music New York with lots of bands and music and lots of food. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Is there anyone who would like to bring new business? Yes?
I don't know how many of you were on the board when Ellen Joven was a public member. She came to work with Linda on the communications committee. She also started Grammar Table. I don't know if any of you guys in the neighborhood are familiar with Grammar Table. There is a new documentary she has now produced and put out. She stars in with her husband. They went around the country talking about grandma. It's called Rebel Without a Clause. And it is taking, the screenings on the Upper West Side are going to be at the end of May. So at the new Plaza Cinemas on 67th Street, which we talked about already. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that. And Linda, because you recruited her, I think she was on the, oh, Roberta. Okay. Okay, Roberta, you, both of you. And it was a really great, she was really a value add to the board. And it's supposedly a really great documentary. So I hope you'll go see it. Yeah, Roberta.
What was it? Quick thing. I just wanted to just acknowledge that our council member looked absolutely stunning at the Met Gala and represented so well.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn? Seconded? All in favor? Adjourned.
Would you want that?